Justin Wrobleski is forcing the Dodgers' hand. He deserves a spot in the postseason starting rotation.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, the Dodgers have made an adjustment with Roki Sasaki that might be helping eliminate one of the biggest issues he's battled all year. Bizarre base running mistakes from the Dodgers and Phillies cost one team a run and the other a chance of winning the game. But first, Justin Wrobleski keeps making his October case. When we started talking about Justin Wrobleski earlier this season, the conversation was pretty simple. Can he keep a spot in the big league club? Now, the conversation has completely changed. Now it's, can you trust him for a starting spot in October? And that's an entirely different conversation, Travis. And honestly, it's one that seemed almost impossible a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's done exactly what you hoped everybody would do, which is make a decision for you, right? Which is make something that was supposed to be, a short-term solution, a long-term solution. And he has been so good, and it hasn't been just kind of fluky good. It hasn't been, a couple of good ones, couple of bad ones. It's been just consistently excellent that you really do have to start thinking if there has to be a way to use him in the starting rotation in October. Now, here's what I'll say, Harry. There's still a long way to go before you get to October, right? It's July 22nd, and you have 2 full months and change before you get to October. So a lot of things can happen between then and now. Other guys can come back. Performances can change. He could suffer some sort of little nick or bump or bruise or whatever that could change some things. But if we're just talking about the way that he's pitched through the first part of the season, he absolutely has to pitch during October. I mean, it's not even – he's probably your second best guy right now. And that's crazy to say. Like Yamamoto's your best guy, and then Wrobleski is right there behind him. I mean, not only does he pitch really well, when he pitches, the Dodgers almost always win. I think there's something like 12-4 in games that he's started so far this season. So, yeah, I mean, the trust is there. I don't think it's a matter of do you trust him? I think it's a matter of is there a spot for him? And right now there certainly is. And like I've said a million times, these things tend to take care of themselves. And the way that this one is taking care of itself is he's just making it a no-brainer. It's like it's not. Yeah, he is. He's just been that good.
Man, Tuesday night wasn't flashy offensively for LA, but they didn't need it. Thanks to Wrobo. He went mano-a-mano with Zach Wheeler in a fantastic pitching duel. And Wrobleski gave up a run in the first inning, but after that, he settled in beautifully. 6 and a third innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, just 89 pitches. Travis, he now improves to 11-2. His ERA is at 2.62. He's leading the Dodgers in wins, and with qualified pitchers, he's second in ERA. So you look at that stat, and it's like, man, that's remarkable for an 11th rounder who just a couple of years ago, very few people knew about, and now he's the second best pitcher in the Los Angeles Dodgers rotation. When you talk about the guys that have stayed healthy, it's Yamamoto and him. And for him to be in this spot, Travis, you look at Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a guy with a 12-year contract for $325 million compared to a guy on his rookie deal. Man, the expectations for one were sky high. The other one is like, okay, well, when the other guys recover and they're healthy again, he's probably going to go to the bullpen or to AAA. There's no and if or buts. When you're standing across Zach Wheeler and both of you are outstanding and you're amazing, you're one of the top pitchers right now in all of Major League Baseball. You got to stay. And I know that when you talk about October, you're talking about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, first and foremost, but you're also talking Shohei Ohtani. You're talking Tyler Glasnow. You're talking Blake Snell. Out of those 4, only one is pitching right now. Shohei kind of shut down pitching. We don't know. There's uncertainty about when he's pitching next. Blake Snell, he already did a rehab start. When you talk about Tyler Glasnow, you have no clue. So things tend to work themselves out. But right now, Wrobleski, I feel that even with a healthy rotation all around, you keep him there.
Yeah, there are a couple of things there. Number one, that it's a great example of developing and drafting the right guys and giving them the support they need, the opportunities they need, the coaching they need to let them blossom into the players that they can become, because this is not a high dollar free agent. This was not a high round draft pick. This is somebody that they just thought would be a good pitcher, turned him into a good pitcher, and he's taking advantage of all the opportunities that he's been given. So I think that, you give the organization a lot of credit and you give Wrobleski himself a lot of credit. That's number one. Number two is, and I like that you said this wasn't just another good game against another team that's just kind of out there. This is the Phillies in Philadelphia against Zach Wheeler. That's about as hard as it gets. Really, there really isn't much harder of an environment to pitch in than in Philadelphia against a good Phillies team with one of their horses up on the mound. And he went in there and went toe to toe. And quite frankly, I was a little bit surprised to see them take him out when he did, because he was cruising along. His pitch count was relatively low. And I think that you could kind of see what the Dodgers are doing a little bit. They're trying to figure out what they have for the stretch run. They're trying to figure out who they can trust. And Evan Phillips is one of those guys right now that maybe they're not exactly sure where he is in his return to Major League Baseball. Like, there's still, we know we've seen him previously, but that's not the guy that's here right now yet. Maybe he will turn into that. So I think this was here's a pretty high leverage situation. Let's put Phillips in there. Let's see what it looks like, because Wrobleski was on cruise control. Like, he wasn't in any trouble at all, even in that what was it, the seventh inning, or maybe it was the sixth inning, where he gave up that 1-out double and then very quickly just got out of it. I think that's a very good sign of guys that even when they give up an extra base hit, it's like, all right, no big deal. That's, those guys get paid too. Let's just get back to work. And he did very quickly and got out of the inning. No harm, no foul. And they could have rolled him deeper into that game had they really wanted to do it. But I think they're starting to kind of tinker with who they trust and who they have and who has pitched more innings than others. So I thought it was a really interesting game last night, but nothing looked better than Wrobleski.
No doubt about it. Evan Phillips, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. He got out of any type of pickle that he could have been in this game. And then Tanner Scott, he got a 5-out save yesterday in Philadelphia. That was big. And we'll talk about how he got out of it here coming up on Locked On Dodgers. But Justin Wrobleski, he keeps making an argument stronger every single time that he's out there on the mound. And what an irony, right, Travis, that the first start coming off of the All-Star break, both for Wrobleski and for Zach Wheeler, comes off of comments where Zach Wheeler says, I'm not the fifth option when it comes to the All-Star game, and I'm not taking a replacement opportunity after Chase Burns isn't available. And Wrobleski, he takes that opportunity with a huge smile in his face, with a lot of excitement. He goes out there, he strikes out 5. He comes off of the All-Star break with all the hype in the world, and they go into a great pitching duel over in Philadelphia, where Dave Roberts spoke about it. It's like, hey, man, this is a postseason environment that we threw one of our youngins out there for, and he delivered in it. Man, I know that we're still a couple of months away from October, but this is going to be a fascinating storyline from here on out until we get there about Wrobleski's spot in the rotation when it goes from regular season to postseason baseball.
Yeah, and maybe we shouldn't be as surprised as we are. I'm with you. I'm surprised that he has been as terrific as he has been, but maybe we should have thought about it a little differently, because think about Game 7 in the World Series last year and all the starting pitchers that they threw out there. They basically used all of them, right? Ohtani started the game. Snell was in the game. Glasnow was in the game. And we know that Yamamoto finished the game. You know who else pitched in that game was Justin Wrobleski, and Justin Wrobleski pitched really well in that game. And you talk about tough environments. It literally doesn't get any more challenging than that. Game 7 of the World Series on the road with a very vocal crowd, and he went in there and held his own. So going into Philadelphia, matching up with Zach Wheeler, while certainly not easy, and having to get guys like Harper and Schwarber and all, Stott and Bohm and all, the Phillies have a really good team. And he just like, yeah, let's go. Like, I love it. And I'm not piling on Roki, and I'm not piling on Emmett Sheehan, but just the the mentality, the comfort, the confidence that you can tell is coming off of a player like Wrobleski, that those other guys are still trying to figure it out. And Wrobleski has kind of morphed into that. Hey, man, I've pitched in big games. I've been in big moments. I've had success in those big moments. Let's keep it going. It's just coming off of him. It's really fun to watch him go do his thing. And maybe it's not, Randy Johnson, just holy smoke, I can't believe what I'm looking at, but nobody's getting on base, Harry. Nobody's hitting him real hard. So he's really established himself in an environment that it's not easy to do, because like you mentioned at the top, it's basically hey, when are the air quote real guys coming back? And well, he's one of the real guys now.
No doubt about it. And compare his stats from his first 2 seasons in the big leagues, 24 and 25, combine them. And he had 103 innings pitched between those 2 years across 32 appearances, only 8 starts. This season, he already has 16 starts, 100 1/3 innings pitched. And that's something that also we got to keep an eye on. The usage, how long he's going to be able to keep on going, because for him, it's not just appearing and being there for 5 innings and then having the bullpen take over. It's quality start after quality start after quality start, going deep into games, and the Dodgers having confidence in him. And here's the crazy part, Travis. Yes, he was with the Dodgers in 24 and 25. He's a 2-time World Series champion in his first 2 seasons in the big leagues. But over those 2 years in the playoffs, he only pitched in the World Series last year. That's all his postseason experience, 4 games coming out of the bullpen, and that's it. So it's incredible to see his growth and see the way that his career just goes up, up, and up.
Yeah, this is the thing that I think the Dodgers do so well, and give the team credit and give Wrobleski credit himself. But this was hey, look, we need you to pitch a bunch of innings at the early part of the season. Let's just see what happens. But because they're so good, because they built this big lead, and because they have so many guys that are waiting in the wings, that they don't have to worry about that innings thing. Like, they can actually kind of just let him go and let's see what happens. And if he runs out of gas at some point, okay, then here comes Blake Snell, or okay, here comes Tyler Glasnow. So you don't have to try that very, very delicate act of trying to thread him through the middle part of the season without burning him up, keeping him fresh. Like you said, this is a part of the innings count that he's really never been a part of before as a major league pitcher. So it's an interesting balancing act, only they don't have to balance it. They can just go for it because they know that other guys are coming back. And if he's available, great. And if he's not, that's okay too, because they have plenty of other guys that are coming back. So again, give the organization credit for building him up, for giving this huge lead, for being able to do all of these different things and experiment and try without having to worry about winning the division, because they've already put that in their back pocket.
The latest chapter of Wrobleski's 2026 season, a huge thumbs up against another fantastic pitcher. So let me ask you, checking out our show, has Justin Wrobleski done enough for you to trust him with postseason starts in October? Drop your take in the comments or let us know on any of our social networks, or also hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line. We would love to hear from you. 279-3-LOCKED. Either leave a voicemail or shoot us a text. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, this game featured 2 of the strangest base running mistakes you'll see all season. One hurt the Dodgers early, the other completely handed the Dodgers the win late.
A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. And this back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy, this time of year can be. Back-to-school shopping experiences are not great a lot of the time. It starts with a few items on the list, but suddenly you're out shopping for everything you could possibly imagine. We're talking supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things that you did not see, and it adds up really fast. And how about that? Hey, oh my gosh, hey, mom, dad, it's 9 o'clock, and the night before school is about to start, somebody suddenly remembers that they need folders, notebooks, markers, apparently 12 other things that nobody mentioned until the night before. And nothing gets the heart rate up quite like emergency school shopping. I'm convinced that Prime's Deliver Tomorrow Before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents in these moments. So remember, when Amazon's low prices back to school, you can spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids.
Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Base running blunders change everything. For a game that featured two outstanding starting pitchers, the biggest talking points might ended up being the bases. Let's start with the Dodgers. Travis, early in the game, Shohei Ohtani delivered what looked like an RBI single, only that it wasn't. Ohtani tried stretching it into a hustle double with 2 outs. Nothing wrong with being aggressive, but Eliezer Alfonso hadn't crossed home plate yet. Travis, aggressiveness, we love it, but right there, I asked on social media, who's at the wrong? Shohei Ohtani for being aggressive, trying to stretch a single into a double, or Eliezer Alfonso for jogging his way home with 2 outs? And I feel that it's a part where both of them are a little bit guilty there.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of blame to go around for everybody. And Harriet, God, my goodness, do I feel bad about saying this, considering everything that Alonso has been through over the last, part of his life. But it's mostly on Alonso. You have to run hard the entire way. You can just not assume that everything's going to work out, that Ohtani's going to stop at first. You can't assume that. You can't assume that if he does go, that he's going to make it. You have to run hard through the plate, because what just happened can happen. If you pull up a little bit and that tag gets made before you cross the plate, the run doesn't score. So he was not like, if he were just that slow, that's one thing, but it wasn't that. He wasn't running hard. So I do think that's one of those moments. It's a teachable moment, a coachable moment, a reminder that this is not the way that we do things. Those things can cost you games, as we saw later, in the 9th inning when the Phillies made an error on the base pass. So you got to do a better job there. Ohtani also I'll give him a little bit of this, because he's got to understand the situation as well, that if you get thrown out, you've got a catcher running who does not run well, and he might not be running hard. And if you're going to go in that situation, you better make it. But I generally give Ohtani a little, because Ohtani's an incredible base runner. We've talked about this. He's a very fast guy, and he's a good base runner. He's an aggressive base runner. He's trying to push the issue right there. So I don't put a ton of it on Ohtani's plate. I think Alonso just made a mistake. He didn't realize that, maybe Ohtani was going to go for it, or if he was going to get thrown out. But I feel like I'm coaching nine-year-olds on the Little League field. You have to run hard all the time. You can never, and if the third base coach is telling you, hey, nice and easy, then you can kind of stroll in. The ball's probably to the wall. But if he's giving you the wheel, you have to run. You have to assume that there's going to be a play on you or a play somewhere else that could affect you. And he just didn't do it. It was disappointing. And thankfully they lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, instead of tying the game, the Dodgers stayed behind by 1, and those are the kind of mistakes that at times come and bite you in the what.
Yeah.
And fortunately for LA, Max Muncy erased that mistake an inning later with his 2-run home run, giving the Dodgers a lead. But how better would it have been in the 9th inning having a 2-run cushion instead of a 1-run lead?
Well, like you said, and this kind of goes back to something we've talked about a little bit. And I said it at the time. I think it was that day that Miguel Rojas made a couple of mistakes at shortstop. And it was just kind of a sloppy game. And then right before the break, they had another sloppy game against the Diamondbacks. And it's kind of like, it was a reminder of how rarely they actually make bad baseball decisions. They make mistakes. Guys strike out. Guys give up home runs. But it's very rarely where you watch them play and go, they're just not playing good baseball. They're not playing smart baseball. The Dodgers usually play really cleanly, very smartly, and with great intent. This is another example of them just kind of not doing it right up here. And there's been more examples of that in the last 3 weeks or so than there have been probably in the last 3 months. So I think it's an opportunity to kind of get everybody back together. Like I said, they dodged a bullet, and then bring everybody together and just say, hey, listen, this is not how we're going to play. This is not how we're going to do it. And then remind them, look, the Phillies did pay the price. They did lose the game because they didn't run the bases well. So that stuff has to be cleaned up. The Dodgers typically play clean baseball, but they didn't again last night on the bases.
No doubt about it. Use them as learning experiences is something that definitely is like, hey, go cover third base no matter what. Or in this case, hustle through the bases. Don't just jog home and be like, okay, we're good. We got the single. You never know what ends up. You know what you're controlling, and you got to control the controllables. If it's hustling through home plate, go through it and don't even think about slowing down. But that was the Dodger side of things earlier in the game. Let's go to the Philly side of things, because for them, it was in the 9th inning. Leadoff single. And after another strikeout from Tanner Scott, a double that had the Phillies with runners at second and third with only one out. Travis, I'll be honest, I was thinking you should walk Brandon Marsh right here, right? Load the bases, have the opportunity of having a force out in any base, and potentially even a game-ending double play. And the game-ending double play happened without walking Brandon Marsh, and it was one of the craziest plays that you have seen so far this season. Ground out the third base. Crawford, the pinch runner, I don't know what he was thinking. In that situation, if it's a green light on contact, you go. You don't hesitate. This dude hesitated like twice, and that's why Max Muncy easily was able to corral the ball, throw it to Dalton Rushing, and then just catch him in between the bases. It's like, okay, we got one out, so at the very worst right here, we're going to get this game into extra innings. Some way, somehow, JT Realmuto got the third base and then started running to second base. It looked like something out of a video game where you pressed the wrong button and the player kept on going. Double play, game over. What was your reaction to that play?
The short reaction is thank you. The more complicated reaction, I think, is just I don't think that the lead runner did anything wrong. I think that Realmuto gets 100% of the WTF is going on out here, because the lead runner Crawford did the right thing. That to your point, it was a contact play. Literally, we're going on contact and we're just head down, go, right? So the ball comes to Muncy. Muncy catches it, but Crawford would have been out from you to me, Harry. He would have been out by 100 miles. So now your job changes. Your job is now you have to get in a rundown for not just long enough for Realmuto to get to third base, but for the hitter to get all the way to second base. So even now you have second and third still. Now there's 2 outs instead of 1 out, but the tying run is at third base. The winning run is in scoring position, and it's just 1 out. Nothing really happened. It would be like just if the hitter struck out. Crawford did a good job to get in a rundown long enough to let Realmuto get to the third, long enough to let the other runner get all the way over to second base. And then Realmuto just blew it by going. I don't know what he's thinking. It was just an awful, awful play. And the third base coach is, I don't know if he yelled at him to go back or something, but that's one of those. It is baseball 101. In that situation, stand on third base like this with your arms folded and just let the play end, and you are still 90 feet away from tying the game. It was a incredibly stupid play. I thought Mookie made a really good play, because where the runner was lying down on the ground, he couldn't step into the throw. He kind of had to throw it flat-footed, almost like you're tossing like a beanbag or something, and he still was able to get enough on it. He still was able to make an accurate enough throw to get Realmuto going back to second, but just a colossally dumb play by Realmuto. And I thought the lead runner did it right, and it was this was a Realmuto, screw up of the highest order. And it's funny because think about the error yesterday on the bases. Think about the error on the bases in Game 6 in the World Series against the Blue Jays, where I forget who the runner was, but he was way too far off second base when Kike caught that ball. He gets doubled off. The game ends. Think about that crazy rundown in 2020 in the NLCS against the Braves, where the Braves are running around like a chicken with their head cut off. I think there's something about when you're playing the Dodgers and they're so good and an opportunity to beat them at the last minute comes along, people lose their minds. And it's like they just really freak out, because these are not complicated base running plays. These are pretty basic stuff, and they're still not getting it right.
But it's also always heads-up plays. You can go back to the wheel play in the postseason last year, where they're just always in the right place, the right time, but also the right state of mind of, hey, we got to make this play the way that gets us to that next spot to get a win. You mentioned the double play to end Game 6. Kike Hernandez, he gets the catch, and he's not just thinking about that out. He looks over at second base. He sees Miggy Rowe. He throws the ball. He gets the out. And I honestly had that same feeling as in Game 6, where I wasn't expecting that to happen, but the Dodgers were ready for that to happen because it wasn't just only about Mookie Betts getting the ball to second base. It's about Tommy Edman being there, right place, right time. Everything is good, and they get the out, they get the win.
They're a smart baseball team. They do the little things right very, very, very often. They did that right. They executed the rundown perfectly, right? Like I have a son that played some high school baseball. They were the worst base running team I've ever seen in my life. They were also the worst team at defending the running game that I've ever seen in my life. And every time the other team would start to run, you're like, okay, these guys are coming in because they didn't know how to do a rundown. The Dodgers, rundowns look easy. They're actually kind of sort of not easy unless you do it right, and then it becomes very easy. They do it right every time. So it was it was fun to see. It was one of those, oh, the game's over. Okay, awesome. Put another one up on the board, and now you got a chance to win the series on the road against a good team like they did in Philadelphia or in New York. Now you got a chance to do it in Philadelphia. So it was a good break, and good teams take advantage of good breaks, and that's exactly what they did.
Hey, sometimes games aren't decided by towering home runs, even though the Dodgers did have one in Max Muncy. Yeah. Sometimes they're decided by simply making the routine baseball play, and Tuesday was a perfect example of that. So let me ask you, which base running mistake surprised you more? The Dodgers wiping away a run early or the Phillies game-ending blunder? Drop your answer in the comments or hit us up on social at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, or on TikTok at Harry Ruiz_. Travis is available on X and IG at Travis Rodgers. Shout out to our guy, Rumar Spencer. We saw you yesterday on Twitter. A lot of great points there. All right, next on Locked On Dodgers, Roki Sasaki looked like a different pitcher in his last start. Is it mechanical adjustments, better command, or is a surprisingly simple equipment change helping solve one of the biggest issues he's dealt with this season?
Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow nothing talks to anything else, right? That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software, right? Think about this. Think about when you get exactly the right piece because everything moves together, right? Think about a guy like, I don't know, the guy we talk about every day, Shohei Ohtani, right? Everything clicks in from the front office to the coaching staff to the players. Everything comes together right away because you have the right piece. And great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's ODOO.com/lockedon.
Check out Pete Fox on our YouTube channel with the Locked On Dodgers postcast right after the final out for immediate reaction of every Dodgers game. Have the Dodgers found the answer for Roki Sasaki? One of the biggest questions surrounding the Japanese hurler this season hasn't been his velocity. It hasn't been his talent. It's been pitch tipping, which became a big topic of conversation because when opposing hitters know or even suspect what's coming, it doesn't matter how electric your stuff is. You're pitching uphill. And over the last couple of starts, though, Sasaki has looked better, and he's looked more like the pitcher that the Dodgers believed they were getting. Against the Rockies, he worked 6 solid innings. Then against the Yankees, he followed it up with potentially his best performance in the big leagues. 5 2/3 innings, only 1 earned runs. And Travis, the velo was great. 21 pitches, 100 miles plus in this game. But maybe the biggest development isn't the radar gun. It's what's hiding behind it. According to reports out of the Dodgers organization, the coaching staff has temporarily addressed Sasaki's pitch tipping issue with something surprisingly simple: a larger glove. What was your take when you heard about that the Dodgers said, okay, don't tip pitches, or, well, we're trying to figure it out. Now here's a big glove, buddy.
I was just excited to see somebody go into a major league game with a girl's softball glove on their hand. It was very, very fun to watch. I mean, it was ridiculously huge. It almost looked like a gag. It looked like that glove they have in left field at the San Francisco Giants stadium out in this. It was absurd. But who cares, right? Like if you're getting guys out, then you're getting guys out. You know, one of my favorite baseball movies of all time is Bull Durham, and there's a great scene where Nuke Lelouch is, you know, he's wearing the garter belts that the woman gave him, and Crash Davis says, you know, whatever, wear them. And he says, you know, if you think you're getting people out because you're wearing women's underwear, then you are. And if Roki Sasaki thinks he's getting people out because he has a Looney Tunes glove on his hand, great. Then put the Looney Tune gloves on his hand. Maybe it helps him tip pitches, or not tip pitches, I should say. Maybe it helps him cover some stuff up. I don't know. Maybe, you know, we saw Yamamoto and Ohtani kind of speaking in the dugout, kind of talking about how he had his hand set up, and maybe it's one of those things. But I don't really care. If it worked, great, do it again. If he goes out there in his next start and he's got a enormous glove on and he deals the way he did against the Yankees, great. Let's let that big glove stay for as long as he wants to do it. I don't know if it's a placebo effect. I don't know if it's just a psychological thing. I don't know. And quite frankly, Harry, I don't care. I just know that Roki Sasaki was awesome against the Yankees. He's a good against a good team in a tough environment where he really hasn't been able to do much of that in his big league career up to this point. So if that was the key to unlocking him, awesome. I'll go buy him another one myself if that's what it takes.
As long as you get results, I don't care. As long as it's regulation and the umpires won't say anything about it, go ahead and feel better. You as a pitcher, would you feel different if you change your glove? Because we've seen players, same hat, every single time they're out there. The glove, the equipment, the spikes, the pants, everything has to be the same. If you were a college pitcher, shout out to the Gauchos. What would your train of thought be, Travis, if you got told, here, use this glove because you're tipping pitches?
Yeah, no, look, I think everybody's a little different. Like I was somebody, I like to use the same stuff over and over and over again. It's just made me comfortable. I know how the glove is going to perform. I did not like to swap out equipment every once in a while, but sometimes something like that can make a difference just because, you know, if the glove isn't quite big enough to where they can see into where your hand position is, and it's not necessarily where they're looking into the glove and they can see how you have your fingers on the baseball. It could be something like if I'm set like this and all of a sudden I twist, my elbow comes in a little bit, and you can just all these different things. Whereas if the glove's a little bigger and I can kind of hide those movements inside the glove without tipping, it might make a little bit of a difference. I'm of the opinion that it's probably a little bit more between the ears than it was him actually tipping, but whatever. Like, honestly, who cares? If he doesn't mind switching between a smaller glove to a larger glove, then great. Let's go to the bigger one. The results speak for themselves. But me personally, I like to have this. I had I didn't have a small glove or a huge glove. Mine was kind of in the middle, kind of, I guess, a regular size glove. And look, tipping pitches is real. And once they've got you, and it's very hard to kind of unravel what you typically do. And maybe this was the key to it. So I'm here for you, Roki. Go do your thing, man. Just keep getting people out.
And look, when I hear pitch tipping, the first thing that comes to mind is, as a Dodger fan, Game 7 of the 2017 World Series with another Japanese pitcher on the mound, Yu Darvish, who just got shelled by the Houston Astros in that game. So when you hear that part of the equation where Roki Sasaki could have been pitch tipping, it's like, okay, let's find a solution. And it's crazy that for now, it seems to be a very simple one. Just have a bigger glove so they can't see what you're doing, and go out there, pitch the best you can. And if it works, keep doing it for however long you have to do it. So my question to you, checking out our show, do you think the bigger glove is enough to keep hitters from picking up Roki Sasaki's pitches? Or do you believe the long-term solution still has to come from fixing the mechanics? Let me know in the YouTube comments or reach out on social media. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back on Thursday as the Dodgers close their series in Philadelphia with Mr. Quality Starts, Eric Lauer, on the mound. He's taking on Aaron Nola. Travis, a series win. It's not huge for the Dodgers, but I'd rather it be a win than a loss.
Yeah. And like we talked about, Phillies are good. Phillies are the type of team you're going to have to beat in the postseason. So let's get used to beating teams like the Phillies. And Aaron Nola is a good pitcher. And like you said, Lauer's been a a little bit like Justin Wrobleski, you know, older, not quite the same age or anything like that, but just wow, we kind of found something here, so let's go get another one.
No doubt about it. And Eric Lauer going for another win with the Dodgers. Also a great story of a guy who you tapped Mr. Right Now. Well, Mr. Right Now has been looking pretty good on the mound for the boys in blue. Let's break those hearts in Philadelphia. Those fans in the stands, for them, it's their World Series. If you're watching on YouTube, stick around and check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network channel. And if you're listening on audio, make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. Travis and I appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.